Yeah, yeah, yeah. Show me something.
Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum.
What's up now?
Right. Hey y'all. Super pumped for this episode, Miranda. The most important 30 seconds. I like the title of this, and I like where your brain was at with it as we were kind of talking earlier too. It's just that it really is, right? As we're kind of diving into the phones, there's so many things that can happen within the first 3 seconds to 30 seconds that can really just kind of make or break whether you even have a chance to kind of get in front of these people, right? Right. So for anyone that's kind of that cold calling or warm, leads or they're, whatever, it's super important. Go ahead.
Any phones, okay? Any phone work, like this stuff applies, like selling over the phone, appointment setting, cold calling, warm calling. Like this is phone 101, awesomeness. And John, in my experience on the phone, I didn't realize how important the beginning of the phone call was when I was new. Okay. I remember when I started managing, I had brought a call center agent into the office and I said, how's it going? And they said, bad. And I said, okay. Let's listen to the first 30 seconds of your phone call. She said, no one's interested. I go, okay. And I said, based on how you sound, I want you to tell me if you're successful or not on these 10 random phone calls. She said, okay. And I played her 10 random phone calls. And guess what? On every single one, based on her, not on the customer, we could tell if she was successful or not because of how she sounded. Okay. So we might sit there and say, oh my gosh, no one's interested today or whatever. We've all said it, right? These leads suck today, or I hate Wednesdays. There it is, but it's not them, man. It's you. Okay. Right. And I think Jeffrey Gitomer said this quote, and I loved it. He says, if they're not interested, it means you're not interesting.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh.
Well, it goes back to that, right? We talk about that from every aspect, but you are genuinely it's the XY theory. You are the stimulus that creates the response. You're going to hear us say that, or hear me say that probably a million more times, but there's so much truth to it, right? It's like when you're watching a movie and you're belly laughing and it's so hysterical. It's like they stimulated that from you. But if you're sitting there and you're kind of watching it and you're like, this isn't that funny, they're not stimulating your response. And so it's just everything that we do. It's like, if you are being weird, guess what you're going to create? Weirdos, right? Yep. You're all bummed out and all stressed and full of anxiety. That's what you're going to get. So it's that kind of mirroring. So yes, you're 100% spot on. I love it.
So John, I know you're a huge golfer, and I'm a wannabe golfer. I go out and try not to embarrass myself. I can kind of I'm right above that. John's expert. I'm but anyways, it's I remember when I was learning to golf and I would go to hit the ball and I'd completely miss it. And I go, I knew I was going to do that. Yeah. If we are sitting here on the phone thinking we're going to screw it up or everyone's going to be mean or whatever, that's what's going to happen. So I think rule number one is we have to go on here assuming that these people are going to be interested. Why? Because we can make them interested. I hear sometimes that we're looking for interested people, but I'm here to tell you that if you're interesting, people are going to want to stay on the phone with you. But sometimes there's things that we can do that make us not sound interesting. The very first, most important thing, do you know how many seconds, and you do know the answer to this, do you know how many seconds that it takes to make an impression on the phone? So the client will actually decide within this many seconds if they want to talk to you.
I'm going to pretend like I don't. I'm going to say 15 seconds.
No, less.
10 seconds. They got to be
no.
able to hear me.
No.
5 seconds.
No.
All right, I know what it is. It's
what is it? 3 seconds. So if I say, hey, John Ziller, please.
This is.
Hey, John, my name's Miranda Martin. Okay. How many seconds was that?
3 seconds.
Okay, so you have a chance to ask who for the person, and tell them who you are. I didn't even say where I'm calling from. So if they're not interested right now, what are they not interested in?
You.
Me, right? So here's rule number one. If you're having a bad day on the phone, chances are you're not smiling at the beginning of the phone call. And I'm not saying that you got to be like me and be like, woo, all excited, because that's just how I am. Be you, but you got to smile, right? And you don't smile the whole time like, hi, right? You don't do that. But here's where you do want to smile for sure. Hey, John, like smile when you say hello, and then smile when you say your name. Hi, John Ziller, please.
This is?
Hey, John, my name's Miranda Martin, and I'm following up. And then I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Another thing that I don't want to do is what I call up-itis. John Ziller?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
John Ziller there, please?
That's a big one.
This is Miranda Martin, and I'm calling from, like, this is like stuff that people just hang up, man. They don't even, it doesn't matter. You think something's wrong with your phone, and it's because you're going up at the end of each sentence.
It's so true. I can remember, and like, you know, a lot of people, some people will know, some people don't know, but that was one of the bigger things, just a couple of points that you're making. I remember just kind of being in and moving into the, you know, the insurance space, and I would get on the phones at 9 o'clock in the morning. And Miranda wouldn't get on the phones until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She would dial from like 4 to 7 and have 15 appointments. And that was my goal. And I would dial from like 9 o'clock. And then by the time she got off at 7, celebrating her 15 or 18 appointments, I was still stuck on like 4 or 3 or 5. And I would get so upset. And I remember kind of grabbing like an audio from you and listening to it, and I would get your little giggle down, and I would kind of emulate a lot of that. And I noticed that I did start booking more appointments when I stayed kind of smiling and a little bit more, not monotone, but not up-itis or whatever you're calling it, because it's so true. Hi, Miranda.
So a lot of time, all the time, I don't think you can hear yourself doing up-itis. Okay, someone's gonna have to like diagnose you with up-itis, or you got to record yourself and play it back. And I hate listening to my own recordings. Okay, but do yourself a favor and just at least record like if you don't record your whole thing, but specifically the first 30 seconds of your phone call, especially if you're getting hung up on more than the ratios that you should be. Chances are you're not smiling. Okay, as soon as I smile, I remember, no one's interested. As soon as I smiled, everyone's interested, right? And then after that, I ended up like not going up, you know, and then, okay, now I've got more people on the phone. And then the third thing that happens, and really experienced phone people can get away with doing this next thing, but new people cannot. New people cannot, and it's called death pausing. And in some scripts that I've seen, John, it says something like, hey, I'm following up about this request that you made here. Do you remember doing that? And somebody who's really cool and confident, like they can get away with that. But most of the time, for like someone like me that's like just really a systems person, like I say, do you remember that? And almost every single person hung up on me. Yeah. So here's my disclaimer. If what you're doing and you're doing something like that's working, keep doing it. I'll tell you, if I do something like that, or people that I'm training, it's an invitation. We only want to ask a yes or no question in the very beginning of a sales process if we want a truthful answer. So what I find is if I'm going to ask any questions, it's for sure going to be one that I lead. So you remember doing that, right, John? It's going to be like I'm leading him, but I'm actually going to recommend that in the first most important 30 seconds that you don't do any questions. I just went up because I was practicing that. Questions. And I want you guys to do something that's kind of unconventional, because all through school, we were told to pause at the end of sentences. But if you pause at the end of a sentence when you're doing like the intro of a call, what does that let the person know that you're about to do?
Yeah, it gives them room to kind of interject, right?
So and so it's not that I want to talk over people. I want to make sure that John knows what he's saying no to if I'm going to let him off the phone. And he can't do that if I'm like, hi, this is Miranda Martin. I'm following up about the request you made for life insurance. Pause.
Yeah.
Okay, you sent this, you went online and did this, pause. It sounds on the phone like you're waiting for approval to keep going.
Yeah, you're waiting for
The-
confirmation.
Yeah, like you're not confident in what you're doing. So here's a trick. So whatever script you're using, I would challenge you to take a highlighter and put a highlighted mark in the middle of the sentence and pause there instead of at the end of the sentence. And it will be impossible for people to interrupt you. For example, I'm going to go through, John, try to interrupt me at the end of a sentence. Hey, John Ziller, please.
This is.
Hey, John, Miranda Martin here, and I'm following up with you. You had made a request, it looks like, for life insurance, and you went online the other day, and I was the broker that was assigned to help you. And I have about 3 seconds of questions here, and I'll get those quotes out to you. I see here that.
Yeah, you're making it impossible for me to interject, and I'm forced to listen. Right?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it's impossible, but you could slow down, right?
Yeah.
You can talk slow.
And what you were talking about with kind of that highlighter, that's where you're taking a breath. So it's almost like in your script, you're planning where you're taking a breath, and it's not going to be at a period. So essentially, I would say, Miranda, like in your first paragraph, get rid of all the periods and turn them into commas.
Yep.
Just get rid of the period and turn it into a comma. And then in the middle of the sentence, put like a highlighter where you feel like you need to breathe. So you can practice it, right? Practice kind of like your slow and low posture there is what you're referring to. And then, all right, where am I running out of oxygen? All right, there's where I need to put the highlighter to go ahead and then breathe in, because it is in the middle of a sentence and not where there should have been a period. Right?
Absolutely. And then I'm not going to stop until I ask John a question. The person who is in control is the one that's asking questions, right? So I'm going to ask him a question. If he asks me a question back, guess what? I'm going to answer it and go right back to what I was doing, because I'm in control, right? In a sales process, the person who's in control wins. And right now, whatever it is, if you're appointment setting, selling, whatever, you're trying to lead them to a decision. You might be leading them to an appointment, but you can't do that if you don't get through the beginning of the phone call. Okay. And if they do throw an objection at you in this sacred 30 seconds, I don't want you to answer it. It doesn't matter what the objection is, because they don't even know why you're calling.
Exactly.
What I want you to say is, that's a great question, I'll get to that in a minute, and then keep talking. Or I want you to say, like, that's great, and keep talking. You can pretend not to hear them and keep talking.
Yeah, or that's exactly what I'm calling. That's a
exactly. Or listen, I'm just super busy. I'll get, and just keep talking, but do not answer a question of any length in that very beginning sacred 30 seconds. If it comes up later after that, when you're getting information from them, yes, answer it. But I'm telling you, if you can just get through that first 30 seconds of the phone call, you're going to win on the phone. And if you're struggling on the phone, listen to at least 3 to 10 recordings of you at the beginning of the call, and you're probably doing some, if not all of this stuff. Okay. And it's okay, because now we're going to fix it.
Well, I like what you said there too, just about kind of that, like, being busy. That was one thing that it's probably hard for most, like, salespeople kind of getting into the industry or getting into the business in the very beginning. They're like, I got nothing but time. No, you don't. Like, your time is precious, and you need to act as if, Miranda, it's like the analogy, like, say you and your boys, you guys are driving down, whatever street, and everyone's like, I'm hungry. And you're like, yeah, I'm hungry too. You know what? I don't want to cook tonight for dinner. Let's stop somewhere. So you kind of like pull up to a light, and there's 2 restaurants on either side of you. One is busy. Like, it looks like a really cool atmosphere. There's a bunch of people outside. There's a little bit of a line. It's like there's some cool music. It's got a good vibe to it. Like, you can tell this place is happening. And then over to the right, it's just a flashing sign that says open. There's not a single soul in the window that you can see. It's all open, and you can't see anybody in there. You can't even see the cash register. So it's like the people that are in the line could easily go over there if they're hungry, right? So where are you enticed to go? Are you going to go to the place that's kind of like busy and kind of happening? Or are you going to go to the place that's absolutely dead and boring? You're going to be enticed to do what, Mer? To the place that's busy.
Busy.
Everyone is attracted to busy people. So you have to be busy, act as if. And so I love the fact that you said that too.
That's actually a good, we need to do like a whole podcast on being busy because it's so important and it's so fun and anyone can do it. You don't need to know anything. You just sound busy and there's so many cool, fun ways. So yeah, but we'll have to do that pretty soon. And you're absolutely right. But yeah, first 30 seconds, most important 30 seconds in your phone, of any sort of phone calls that you're doing. So
hit like, subscribe to our channel. We don't know where we're supposed to be pushing it. It's either going to be right here, maybe they can make it right here for us, or right there for us, or right there for us. But like and subscribe, and we'll see you again here in a couple of days. Bye, y'all.
Yeah. Show me some.
Tell me, yeah.
Yeah.